What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for a Monday Night Raw review for November the 16th, 2020, the Go Home Show 2 Survivor Series. We are 6 nights away, the WWE Championship on the line, and the Raw Tag Team Championships are on the line. Winners will go to face off against the Street Profits and Roman Reigns, respectively. Did we have any title changes? Did we have any surprises? And how bad is Monday Night Raw getting? We'll talk about that the entire show. So, the show starts off with the challenger to the WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre. He comes out, he welcomes everyone else to Raw. He hypes up Survivor Series on Sunday and asks who's ready to see him claim World Champion Randy Orton tonight. Talks about Universal Champion Roman Reigns and says he should worry about McIntyre and not Orton, as he will be champion after tonight. Drew says Reigns has put himself on a pedestal so high above everyone else as he has his head shoved up his own ass. He says he will win in the title tonight, claim more Reigns back to Earth on Sunday, and humble him, and Orton interrupts on the big screen. He's not stupid. He's not going to come out here and just interrupt right there. He's thankful for being WWE Champion for a 14th time. Says the fine for laying out his hands on WWE producer Adam Pearce, which they might as well just call Adam Pearce the commissioner of WWE, because he's on both of these shows making matches as if he was a commissioner. Didn't even faze him because he's been fined and suspended more time than anyone else over the years. He is still on top because he is the greatest ever. He has been suspended. He's been sitting on his couch more time sitting on his couch from suspensions than 80% of the WWE the talent has been in the ring. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's like, Randy Orton, over the years, has been the only guy in WWE history that I can think of who could continue to break the rules, continue to break to violate the wellness policy, and still keep his job. There was a time when WWE used to produce the wellness policy violations. Who's got a strike? They'd be like, Jeff Hardy has violated the wellness policy. This is strike 1. Strike 2. And then strike 3, of course, is being fired. Randy Orton has had so many strike 2s, it ain't even funny. This guy should have been fired years ago. He acknowledged in this. He's acknowledged it before. But it's only because of the talent that he has and the pool he has in the back that has kept him around. Nobody else that I can think of could get as lucky as Randy Orton can. He says he is still on here because he is the greatest ever, and will prove that tonight when he leaves still WWE Champion. Drew goes on about how he will win tonight's title, and out comes The Miz and Morrison. Miz indicates that they were standing up ringside for the night's WWE title match and teases a Money in the Bank cash-in. Spoiler alert, they are not there tonight, for reasons we'll talk about later. He also says the Fiend Bray Wyatt hid out in the Firefly Funhouse last week because he's afraid of The Miz and Morrison. Miz goes on about how change is coming and Drew McIntyre can do nothing about it, because if anyone's leaving as WWE Champion, it's going to be me. We'll talk about what happens later in that. Miz says whether Drew wins or loses tonight, he'll be the one laughing all the way to the bank. He raises the briefcase in the air, taunts Drew. Drew dares Miz to pull something tonight. The announcers hype up the title match. That is your main event. We see recent issues between members of the Women's Team Raw, including Lana. They didn't just go over the fact that Lana's been going through the table 8 times. They showed every single one of them again. They tried to pass this shit off as she's brave for continuing. Every time she gets knocked down, she keeps getting back up. I don't see this as brave. I see this as stupidity. So Lana got this brilliant idea. Remember last week how The Miz and Morrison with Randy Orton took on the New Day and Drew McIntyre? And Randy Orton never got in the ring. So Lana was like, hey, I have a really good idea. Let's have Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose and Asuka take on Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and me in a 6-woman tag match. We're supposed to feel sorry for this woman. We're supposed to care that she continues to get beat week in and week out, put through a table 9 weeks in a row. This would be this week when it happens, because you know what's going to happen. Over 2 months of being put through a table. We all thought it was because Miro cut that promo and just went off on WWE in that first promo. This is way beyond that. I don't even know what this is supposed to be anymore. Apparently, the word is that Vince McMahon finds this way of her finding sympathy. Now, if it would have happened 2 times, maybe 3 times, and then Lana got up, grabbed the kendo stick, and started beating Nia Jax up to get revenge, I would have been with you. We're like, yeah, she got her revenge. She's beating the hell out of this woman. This is just sad. This will be 9 weeks in a row that this woman has been put through a table. Time and time again. Hell, we didn't even know who the quote unquote projected winner of the election was by the time this thing started. This has been a travesty. So we get this match: Lana, Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax versus Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Asuka. Because for some reason, Nia thought this was a good idea. She gets confronted backstage. She wants to get in this match, unlike Randy Orton the previous week, which is where she got this bright idea. And they say, you don't even think about getting in this match. So they come out here, Nia Jax, of course, Shayna Baszler, like, you know what? We really don't want to deal with this. We really don't. We have our own thing, and that's all we're going to say about that. We shouldn't have to deal with the problem. We run the women's division, even though Asuka's the women's champion. And I know it's Survivor Series. The one thing I don't like about Survivor Series, and they have this best of the best, especially for the women, you have Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, the women's division, the women's match. Well, SmackDown, of course, is still Bayley. It's still Sasha Banks, but for whatever reason, it just feels like Asuka has been left in the dust. She is an afterthought right now. It's a pain in the ass to see, but Asuka, hell, for weeks we haven't seen Asuka since she won. Wait, did she have a match in Hell in a Cell? Did she have a match in Hell in a Cell? I think that was Zelina Vega. I think that was Vega's only title match, right? But we hadn't seen her until like the last week. Well, the big thing out of this match is not the match itself. It's the fact that Mandy Rose was pretty much taken out of Team Raw due to this match, as Shayna Baszler decided she was going to go ham and destroy Mandy Rose's arm and just leave her out. Lana eventually does tag in towards the end of the match. She is pissed. She pisses the other two off. She tries to fight and pin and beat Asuka, but Asuka finally gets in the Asuka lock, and that's that. After that, Lana gets, of course, she gets thrown out to Nia Jax, and Nia Jax plays up like, oh, you know what? You showed a lot of hurt tonight, so I want to welcome you to Team Raw. That happens. She goes to leave, and she says, psych, puts it through the table, and that was that. So, that was that. 9 weeks in a row. Tom shows us last week's issue with the men's team Raw. AJ comes in to these guys fighting. He's like, dudes, guys, we got to get on the same page. Enough of this bullshit. I know for a fact, I know one thing. You might not like me. You not like the fact that I don't call myself team captain. But you guys don't like to lose. And the way you're acting right now, we're going to lose. And it's not going to be on me. It's going to be on you. So, he says, I'm going to make a tune-up match for you guys. I'm going to talk down and PS, get a tune-up match. We're going to go against something that we all hate and nobody likes, and that's Retribution. So, they go off, and Matt Riddle comes in to give, I guess, Jordan a nickname, and he's like, dude, don't even worry about it. He can't even speak English. And Jordan's like, yes, I do. And AJ's like, really? Why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked. So, we go backstage, and Charlie Caruso approaches Dana Brooke in the trainer's room. She looks all worried and everything, and she says, Mandy's arm is all screwed up. She's in with the trainers right now, and Jackson and Baszler got out of line. All of a sudden, Reckoning, a.k.a. Mia Yim, comes in the frame and beats the bejesus out of Dana Brooke. So she is also taken off of Team Raw. So Team Raw is going to be made up of Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, and we find out later the only two other people there are because Asuka's already got a match on Sunday, and Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are in the middle of the thing with the Fiend and all that stuff. Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, and that is it. So why don't you just put them on the team in the first place? That's my question. We go to Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse. It's nice to see everyone again, but isn't nice. What isn't nice is The Miz, but Wyatt doesn't fear Miz and wants to help him with his issues. Bliss proposes Miz versus Wyatt for tonight. Wyatt says to pay attention because if he has to repeat himself, you don't want to see his bad side. We see flashes of the Fiend. Wyatt says that this is a short notice, but he has his friends here to help him prepare. So we get little training montages with Puskus the Pig Boy. He throws a dart at a dartboard with Rambling Rabbit on it with an apple. He hits him in the heart or something. He starts dying again. Must have been a poison dart. So there was that. And he says, I guess I'm ready. I hope you are too. That ends the segment as they wave goodbye. I keep saying this and it keeps being true. Bray Wyatt, this whole Firefly Funhouse stuff ran its course over the last year. And attacking Alexa Bliss and putting her in a trance and getting her to be on Bray Wyatt's side has breathed new life into this entire thing. If it wasn't for the Alexa Bliss that we see now, this entire gimmick would have been dead. And it's great, I just have to say right now, it's all thanks to Alexa Bliss and how she's doing, which, by the way, congratulations to Alexa Bliss and her boyfriend on the engagement. Hopefully this one sticks, because everyone does know she was engaged to Murphy 3 or 4 years ago, and they broke up for whatever reason, not my business. But yeah. Bliss is absolutely the biggest reason why Wyatt's entire gimmick is still interesting. Raw Tag Team Championship match, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin of the Hurt Business versus The New Day. This was a fantastic match. When this match was over, Tom Phillips said, "This is what Raw is all about." And I'm thinking to myself, no, it is not. Raw has hardly ever been about great matches. I mean, yes, we get a good one here and there, maybe one per show, but when you say this is what Raw is always is about, what are you talking about, Tom? You had a 7-way, 24/7 championship match that ended in like 10 seconds, and then had the channel change to everybody at least once last week. You've had terrible matches over and over again. Yes, we had, last week we had Ricochet and Mustafa Ali, which was fantastic. The 2 title matches tonight were the best parts of the show, outside, of course, Bliss and Fiend. But it shouldn't be a hit-or-miss thing. I know, yes, you're not going to bat 1,000 every single week. It's just not possible. But they need to do better than this. Quite honestly, plain and simple. So, MVP has the mic. He goes about lastly will squash Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn, or what he calls Vermin. I'm sure that's a racist thing in there somewhere. Shelton takes the mic and talks about how he and Cedric will win the titles tonight and defeat SmackDown Tag Team Champions Street Profits on Sunday. MVP says, I said NBC for whatever reason, the Hurt Business will collectively control most of the goal on Raw and take credit for putting SmackDown out of business. Out come the Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of the New Day. They taunt the Hurt Business on the mic. Kofi says they should be the Jerk Business. Ha ha ha, gay jokes. The two sides go back and forth on the mics until New Day does the whole New Day rocks. Who really cares? Like I said, hell of a match. This was probably the match of the night for sure. But of course, when you have Cedric Alexander, you have Kofi Kingston, you have Xavier Woods, and you have Shelton Benjamin in the ring together in a fatal 4-way, or I guarantee if this was a fatal 4-way match, this would have been one of the best fatal 4-ways of the year. These 4 guys can go out there and to show you how it's done. These guys went out there and gave you one hell of a match. So they confirmed Miz and Wyatt for later on in the night. Cedric, hold on, let me get to this was a great match. It's so hard to go over matches like these and point out anything because all 4 guys went out there and kicked ass. Cedric tags in, goes for Kofi with the inverted atomic drop. Shelton follows with a kick. Cedric drops Kofi with the brainbuster, but Woods makes the save. Kofi counters a lumbar check and super kicks Cedric. Kofi sends Shelton to the apron and kicks Cedric off. Kofi sends Shelton to the floor with the Trouble in Paradise. Woods tags in, hits the big double team Daybreak on Cedric for the pin and the win. And the New Day will move on to the pay-per-view. Would I have liked to see the Hurt Business win the tag team titles tonight? Yes, I would have. Am I surprised that the New Day didn't drop the titles? No. It would have surprised me. I would have been happy for the Hurt Business simply because Cedric Alexander would have been a great stepping stone for him. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, the Hurt Business are the tag team champions. I don't think this is the last time these 2 teams are going to go against each other unless WWE gives up on the Hurt Business. The New Day pose with the titles is Tom hypes the match between the Street Profits. Sheamus catches up with Drew McIntyre back in the back. He talks about their history together and says he found something that belongs to. He pulls a bag off of a crate. Drew up and says he thought he'd never see this stuff again. It looks like some of Drew's old gear or from his family. He turns around and Sheamus is there presenting him with a claymore. No. That wasn't necessarily any sword. That was a fucking claymore. That was a beautiful looking claymore. And yeah. It's like the gear that we saw and like what's in there, we'll find out later, is that I believe it's the kilt that he wore to the ring during his NXT days when he went to, I think it was the takeover he lost the title in, or the takeover where he won the title. I think it was the takeover he won the title, which was Brooklyn 3? Brooklyn 3? I think it was Brooklyn 3. When he won the title. Yeah. Retribution versus Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, Sheamus, and Braun Strowman. Well, this was a clusterfuck of a match for the for Team Raw. You figure, well, before this match, we went into this match. Overall, Retribution is 1-5 in their careers, in the team's overall record. 1-5. That is atrocious. As this faction that everyone's supposed to be afraid of and is supposed to cause havoc on everybody. So, Team Raw is dysfunctional. There was times where they did work together a little bit tonight, and it looked like they were actually going to do something. And then there were times that they just looked horrible. And they continued to fight. The egos got in the way. And then Matt Riddle gets rolled up and pinned by Mustafa Ali. They hit the ramp and celebrated. AJ looks on the fake fans boo. As Team Raw continues to argue. And I'm looking and I'm like, wow. Team Monday Night Raw. We're going into the pay-per-view version of Survivor Series with the tagline, the best versus the best. And they could not put their differences aside to beat a team that the Hurt Business beats every single time. Wow. This is absolutely 100% sad. We're supposed to care about Survivor Series this year. Hell, Team SmackDown isn't even isn't a complete team yet. We'll find out on Friday who they're going to have as the 5th member. But this is just terrible. Monday Night Raw's teams are just falling apart, whereas SmackDown teams haven't really interacted with each other. The teams, Team SmackDown's women's team only has 3 members, and Raw and the men's team has 4. So their teams aren't even complete. And yeah. And it's funny because Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Bianca Belair are all friends. They've teamed up together. So why would they want to get at each other's throats? Whereas the only thing that really between Team SmackDown that has been any arguing or fighting was Kevin Owens and Jey Uso. But the only other member is Seth Rollins, and there's that. So this has been absolutely fucking ridiculous. This just makes me believe that Monday Night Raw is going to win everything because that's the like WWE wants you to make it seem like SmackDown has the advantage because none of their teams have been fighting as much as Monday Night Raw's teams have. Monday Night Raw's teams have been just absolutely terrible overall. It is what it is. It's just stupidity. I don't understand why you're going to put teams together just to have them bicker and fight. Because we're going into Survivor Series this Sunday, and Team Raw, for both the men and the women, don't even look like they could be in the same... You couldn't leave these guys locked in a room together by themselves. It's just how you do it. And this is just so bad. Nikki Cross backstage looking for Alexa Bliss. Mackenzie Mitchell comes in, asking about last week's ultimatum where Bliss picked. The Fiend says friends never give up on each other. And the Fiend has hypnotized Bliss. She says no matter what, she has to get Bliss away from the Fiend. Mackenzie then walks over to Jeff Hardy, who is upset at a flyer that Elias apparently made with photos from the car wreck that happened earlier this year. Hardy says he's about to give Elias a taste of his own medicine and the biggest scoop of his life. I thought we were done with this between these two. I really do. So we go to commercial, we come back, and Elias is playing the guitar in the back. When Jeff walks in with a bunch of flyers, he's like, "What's with these flyers, man?" Just looking for some justice after someone tried to end his career. Hardy asks, how many times do I have to say this? He didn't hit Elias with the car. Elias says, you're the only guy who has any information on what happened that night because you did it. So Jeff grabs Elias, takes him over to the fucking pool, picks him up, and pushes him into the wall, and says that if you keep blaming me for this thing and keep pushing this, I'm gonna be found guilty for more than just lot worse than me hitting you with a car. So I'm pretty sure Jeff Hardy just gave Elias a death threat. That's exactly what that was. But I guess we're okay with that because it's Jeff Hardy. Miz versus Bray Wyatt. Not a bad... Alexa comes out to updated music finally. I mean, the last time she came out to her normal music. It's her music, but it seems a lot slower and fiendisher. And the Tron in the entranceway flashes the Fiend's face every once in a while. Miz comes out, and Miz takes the mic and talks about how he and Bray Wyatt haven't seen eye to eye lately. He wants to consider everything under the bridge. He says there's no reason for this match to happen. They should find a peaceful solution and he has that solution. Work together to make their dreams come true during tonight's title match. Music out, she comes out, she stops the stage and delivers a message for Wyatt where he says no. She laughs, then Nikki Cross comes out and she tells Bliss that she has to leave Wyatt because he's bad news. She begs Bliss and she says they are best friends. Bliss says, you know what? Oh my gosh, Nikki, you're right. Slaps the taste out of her mouth. Gets on top of her, starts fighting, beating her up. Nikki Cross turns it around, starts beating her up. WWE personnel come split them two up. Bliss is pissed off. She's wailing her arms, and then Bray Wyatt's music hits, and the anger is gone, and the happy, bubbly Alexa Bliss is back. Bray Wyatt stares at Nikki Cross for a minute. Goes over to Alexa Bliss, puts out his arm, and they stroll to the ring as only they could. So, this match was nothing. This was just, Like I said, one of the biggest problems with Bray Wyatt is especially with his characters, they just don't, it doesn't work in the ring. Everything else works, but in the ring. The biggest spot of this match was actually Alexa Bliss. How surprisingly. Because for some reason, not for some reason, but Morrison tries to get involved and stop Bray Wyatt from doing whatever he's doing. So he's outside, and Alexa Bliss decides she's going to run up on this guy and tackle him and take him down over the barricade. That looked like that probably might have hurt a little bit. She leaps off the steps, tumbling over the barrier with Morrison. Mace takes advantage of the Wyatt distraction, hits the clothesline in the corner, but Bray Wyatt doesn't fall over. Bray Wyatt just looks at Miz with this evil smile, pulls him over, pulls him forward. Sister Abigail, 1, 2, 3. That was that. Bray Wyatt wins. After the match, Bliss gets up on the barricade. She slowly creeps up with the smile that she has. Creepy as just very creepy. Walks on the barrier as Wyatt cheers her on. They head to the ramp, but the familiar menacing sound of the Fiend starts up. We see the Fiend on the big screen, which they've used that same clip over and over. Wyatt and Bliss stop and stare up at him. The arena goes black, and we go to break. Back from break, and we see what happened with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke earlier tonight. They now unable to compete at Survivor Series. Charlie Caruso is with Adam Pearce in the back. He confirms that they will miss Survivor Series and says, of course, as I said, they will be replaced by Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. Caruso is now joined by Raw Women's Champion Asuka. She quickly gets hyped for a Survivor Series match against SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks, which usually you have the champions, having verbal barbs or verbal jabs at their opponents from Raw and SmackDown, like Uso. Like Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley have had. The tag team champions had. The WWE and Universal Champion have had. But the women's champions really haven't. Asuka, like I said, Asuka has been an afterthought for a majority of this build to Survivor Series, and Sasha Banks isn't even worried about Survivor Series. So if I would have to say all the matches that have the weakest build, it would, if there's any build at all, would be Sasha Banks versus Asuka. But of all the matches that are probably going to be the best of them all, it's probably going to be Sasha Banks versus Asuka. That's why you don't need build for these two. Even though I said before in another video, we've seen this before. We don't need to see it again. I wish we would have never had Sasha Banks win the Raw Women's Championship at all this year, because this is the third or fourth time that Asuka and Sasha Banks have faced each other. If this was the first time this year that Asuka and Sasha Banks would face each other, it would be a much bigger match. And that's all I got to say about that. See, Drew McIntyre or Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns is the first time this year that we've seen this match. Do we want to see either one of those this year? Probably not. We'll talk about that stuff here in a bit. Charlie tries to get a word from Randy Orton, but he says he's already had a long list of distractions on his mind, and Charlie doesn't want to become one of those distractions. Back to commercial. We announced that Sheamus, Asuka, and the New Day will be on Raw Talk. Moving on, Angel Garza talks about the roses in the garden and sends another message to his apparent secret admirer or love interest, whatever. Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler backstage, arguing about Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke being injured and they taking off Team Raw. And of course, Shayna Baszler says the only two people who matter about this entire team is you and me. Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce come in. Lacey Evans gets all main with them. Peyton Royce tries to pull away, saying, "You know what? I'm just here to say I'm thankful for being on this team and getting this opportunity." By the way, this is supposed to be another tag team in the women's division, which again makes me wonder, why did you take Peyton Royce and Billie Kay away from each other if all you were going to do was put Peyton Royce in another tag team? What happened to that singles push Peyton Royce was supposed to get? What happened to it? Because I don't know where it went. WWE Championship match, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. If I would have told you coming into Survivor Series that we were going to get Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, I would have said, just a way to give Roman Reigns an easy victory and protect Drew McIntyre. Again, this was a really good match. Randy Orton actually came and worked tonight. Was it better than the Hell in a Cell? Of course not. That was a Hell in a Cell match. But the match started off as a normal match. Randy Orton, towards the first commercial break, was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this match anymore. I'm done with this. Adam Pearce comes out on the stage and announces that, no, man, this is not going to go down like this. We're not going to have the match end like this. No countouts, no disqualifications. There must be a winner by pinfall or submission, and that is official. So Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton became a false count. He should have said in falls count anyway. I think that would have made the match a little bit more interesting, even though it was a good match. I mean, you had weapons, you had these two. By the way, Randy Orton takes a back bump through a table from the apron, and he got the Hardcore Holly treatment. If you don't know what the Hardcore Holly treatment was, back in like 2007 or something, Hardcore Holly, Bob Holly, went back first through a table against RVD and came up with a big gash on his back. It wasn't that bad, but you could see that, and it wasn't that thick. It was a lot more, like you could just, like, he took the back bump, and then he gets in the ring, and we see he pulls himself up a little bit, and you just see blood coming down his back. That's the dangers of these tables, though. It can happen. That's a reason. I think that's another reason why a lot of people in tables matches wear shirts, because it's a lot less likely for you to rip your back, like have your back cut open. I think that's something you go with. Note to self: if you're ever in a tables match, wear a t-shirt. Especially if you're going through the table, wear a t-shirt. So the match, well, like I said, Miz and Morrison are nowhere to be found because of what happened with Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss earlier. So no likely chance of that happening. Drew stays on the top, brings Orton back to the ring. 2 count. Drew readies for a Claymore now. Orton blocks with a power slam, both down at ringside. Orton with a draping TDT off the announce table. Orton is bleeding from his back. It was, disgusting. He brings Drew back in the apron and hits a second rope draping DDT. Goes for the RKO, but it's blocked. Drew comes right back, hits the Claymore. 1, 2, he kicks out. I'm just kidding. 3, Drew McIntyre is a 2-time, I said that right, 2-time WWE champion. And the big money match that a lot of people, I'm suspended on Twitter, so I can't tweet, but I can still actually use Twitter to look at everything. And I actually was going through the SmackDown hashtag on Friday, and there were people wanting the Roman Reigns Drew McIntyre match at Survivor Series, and I think, like, I don't know what the deal is, but Drew looks into the camera, Survivor Series, and says, set a plate for the table because I'm coming to dinner. Head of the table, you get it? There we go, that's much better. So, yes, we have ourselves a new WWE champion in Drew McIntyre. Could anyone have seen this coming? Probably. I honestly figured that they took the title off of Randy Orton to get us to Survivor Series to break. Because, honestly, who do you think's winning at Survivor Series? I'll talk about it on Friday because I have a feeling I know who's winning, and it seems like the obvious one. And it was like, getting the title back to Drew tells me one thing. We are getting Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton at TLC because they have nobody else. They literally have no other prepared baby faces on Monday Night Raw. None. And that's sad. I mean, Angel Garza could have became a babyface if they wanted to. I mean, he's played a babyface before. Keith Lee? Sheamus? Nah, not Sheamus. Ricochet? Oh no, that's right, he's nothing. Matt Riddle? Literally anybody else, but they don't have anybody else prepared. So they had to take the title off of Randy Orton. So you know what that means? Randy Orton's going to be a 15-time champion the next time he wins it, which means he'll be one championship away from tying Ric Flair and John Cena. So do you think John Cena is going to be the man to beat Ric Flair's record? Fuck no. It's going to be Randy Orton. As Ric Flair said he wanted it to be, and we'll see if that actually happens. I could totally see by this time next year, I could totally see Randy Orton being a 17-time world champion. Plain and simple. Because the plan going into WrestleMania still is Edge versus Randy Orton. And that is where we're going to right now. But they really need to get us to the Royal Rumble. That's the sad part. They need to get us to the Royal Rumble. And they don't have anybody else, and I don't understand why. But that is your Monday Night Raw review. hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Parler at the Frowns Club, because fuck Twitter and big tech. Find me on twitch.tv/the Frowns Club. Find me on Instagram at the Frowns Club, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the next episode of AEW on TNT as we head towards December 2nd in the biggest match on TV in TNT history. Till then, my name is the Frowns, and I'll see you guys later.